Zuo Fan and Mu Yinyu are in the middle of a monster horde. They both sit huddled together wondering if they're going to die. The monsters jump at them to attack and Zuo is adamant that he won't die. He is determined to make it out alive. Earlier, at the City Z prison, Zuo Fan was on a phone call with his father, who sits right in front of him. He tells him that he's an adult as he's 18 now. He says to his father that he promised that he would tell him the truth when he is of age. He continues to say that the monster wave caused the fall of City S years ago, so it's time to tell the truth. He tells him that he wants to clear his name. 8 years ago, City S had a monster wave outbreak and became the greatest disaster in all of China's history. Zuo Fan's father, Zuo Hui, was the only one who survived. After investigation, it had been discovered that Zuo Hui left the city during the monster wave outbreak, abandoning his duty, which was a heinous crime. He was convicted for treason, and considering his many years of meritorious deeds for the country, he was sentenced to 10 years of stay of execution. Because of this, Zuo Fan carried the bad name of being the traitor's son for 8 years. He was even expelled from school. His teacher had said that the school would not be responsible for teaching the son of a traitor. He was also ridiculed while applying for a job. The owner had asked him if customers would come if he worked at their store. Zuo Fan has been able to hold on for this long only because of his faith to clear the injustice done to his father. Zuo Hui says there's not much to tell about what happened back then. He tells his son that it's been judged quite clearly and he has already pleaded guilty. So, he tells Zuo Fan to leave City Z and change his name and identity so he can have a better life. He tells him to pretend like he doesn't have a father like him, as it isn't easy to be the son of someone who betrayed their country. Zuo Fan slams his hand on the table and states that he doesn't believe it, as he's not that kind of person. Zuo Fan then walks out and guards snicker amongst themselves, saying that he's the son of a traitor. The guard tells him that he just realized the visiting fee is now 3 times more. Zuo Fan is surprised, as that's over 1,000. He asks them why the price was raised that much. The guard says it's the decision of the higher-ups and that the guards are already being lenient by letting him visit because after all his father committed treason. Zuo Fan wonders how they could call him a traitor when he risked his life and made countless contributions to the country. Feeling angry, he vows that he would definitely find out the truth. He feels dejected as the $450 visit fee that he pays every month already puts him at his limit. And now it's 3 times more. After becoming a Starfall Warrior Reserve, he risked his life for some income in the Mercenary Guild for all these years. An ordinary healthy person would have wons in all the categories. An official Starfall Warrior would have at least over 10 points in each category, but only his mind and agility are over 10. So, his move speed and reaction speed are slightly faster, but his physique and strength stats have not changed for half a year now. Zuo Fan can't stop investigating if he wants to clear his father's name, as it's obvious to him that there's a lot of things that he hasn't told him. Zuo Fan wonders what he should do about the visiting fee, as the money he earns from the Mercenary Guild minus his living expenses ends up at around 450. He reaches for the necklace around his neck. It's the only valuable object on him. His mother gave it to him as a birthday present. It was said to be made up of meteor fragments from the night of the starfall, so it would be worth quite a lot. He contemplates if he should sell it. He then hits himself for thinking that and decides to go find some higher rank missions at the Mercenary Guild. At the City Z Mercenary Hall, people around him talk about him, calling him garbage and saying that he's the weakest warrior here. Others say that is what he gets for betraying his own country. Zuo Fan does not pay any attention to them and keeps walking, thinking how noisy and talkative these people are. Zuo Fan goes up to Uncle Gao and asks him to look for some suitable E-rank missions for him. Uncle Gao says that an E-rank mission for Zuo Fan would basically be suicide with his current strength. He continues to say that even in F-rank dens, he would need to be an official Starfall warrior to be able to protect himself. He says Zuo Fan is lucky to be alive for this long, being cannon fodder in F-rank dens, as Zuo Fan is just a Starfall warrior reserve. Zuo Fan says he is aware but he has no choice. So, Gao says that he has an E-rank commission post that pays well and the party is recruiting a scout, but he warns that it'd be dangerous. After reading it, Zuo Fan is thrilled to see that the reward is $3,000. He happily tells Uncle Gao he loves him. Gao tells him that the party is quite unordinary, so he should keep his eyes open. For E-rank den missions, the party members are all Starfall warriors at the novice rank or above. Zuo Fan just needs to do a good job scouting and he'd get paid handsomely. He watches the party members from a distance and thinks that he would get carried this time. A girl asks him if he's the scout that Uncle Gao recommended. She says she is Mu Yinyu, the leader for this combat party. Looking at her weapon and equipment, this girl seems to be an intermediate rank Starfall warrior. Zuofan also notices that she has Monster Core, a Starfall equipment. It is said that among thousands of monsters, only one Monster Core may be produced. It is priceless beyond imagination. Starfall equipment are valuable items crafted using monster cores. It can greatly increase the strength of Starfall warriors. The stats of an intermediate rank Starfall warrior is at least above 40 in every category. She seems to be the same age as him. Intermediate Starfall rank warriors under the age of 20 are called prodigies. He hesitantly introduces himself as Zuofan, hoping they don't think of his father. She goes to shake his hand but is pushed away by another guy who shakes Zuofan's hand and says that he must be the cannon fodder the mercenary guild recommended. A man, Han, who shows up and tells Muji to stop and says that bullying a Starfall warrior on reserve duty is embarrassing. He says that he is joking and asks Zuofan not to mind him. Han, who then tosses a contract at Zuofan and asks him to take a look at it and sign it. But before the pages can hit his face, Zuofan catches it between his fingers. The others are amazed at his quick reaction and alertness, and they say that he is fit to be a scout. Zuofan, while sweating, thinks it was a close call and realizes this is the strength of a novice rank Starfall warrior. Novice rank Starfall warriors can temporarily enforce objects to become extremely hard by injecting their power. Seeing how he caught the contract, Mu Yinyu says that Uncle Gao was not wrong as Zuofan seems to be talented. Han, who says that under hunting regulations, Warriors Reserve cannot join E-rank missions, so he tells Zuofan to read the contract and sign it if he does not have any questions. Zuofan studies his team members. The group is made of mostly novice rank Starfall warriors and they all seem to be well equipped. With a team like this, clearing an E-rank monster den would be easy. So, Zuofan is overjoyed that this time he can freeload and get carried by the team and easily make money. Han, who leads them to the E-rank den. After the world changed immensely, outside of where the humans lived, monsters roamed around. So these places were restricted areas. Hot weapons had little to no effect on these monsters. Some monsters could even absorb bullets and poison gas to mutate even further. A weapon made of these monster parts could more effectively injure and kill the monsters. So, cold weapons are the weapon of choice, and with high-level monster parts being pricey, they've also become a symbol of wealth and strength for Starfall warriors. The City X E-rank den used to be the downtown area of City X, but now monsters roamed here. Zuofan spots a fish lizard beast, which makes weird river sounds. These amphibious beasts have scales and fangs that can pierce through metal. Using a bow and arrow, Huofan takes aim and releases. The arrow lands right on the eye of the beast, but it immediately bounces off. The beast is outraged at this and jumps towards Zuofan and charges to attack him. Zuofan thinks that he has been successful at baiting the monsters as they are all after him now. But he is astonished that they move way faster than the intel said. The fish lizard monster is incredibly fast. As a Starfall warrior reserve, if he was not familiar with the monsters and the environment, he wouldn't be able to make it out. However, all monsters have their weak points. Zuofan tells himself he needs to find an opportunity to attack its weak point. Zuofan grabs his bows and aims for its tongue, as that is considered to be its weak point. He manages to get the arrows pierced into its long tongue. Zuofan is glad that even a reserve like him can be used in an E-rank mission. But then, he notices the monster pushing the arrows out of its tongue. So he realizes normal weapons cannot cause damage even if the weak points are targeted. The monster jumps at him. It's too fast for him to even react, but he somehow dodges. He decides to run to the exit, with the monster tagging right behind him. Zuofan thinks that if he had arrows made from an E-rank monster parts, he would have been able to kill low-level rank monsters by himself. But he also thinks that it would be a waste to spend all that money on it. Zuofan reaches the place where the rest of the team is. He informs them the fish lizard is here, and Hanhu tells them to prepare for combat. Hanhu and Mu Yinyu battle the monster with ease. Zuofan watches this and thinks that his job this time was so easy. Mu Yinyu slices the monster in half and everyone compliments her, saying that she performed as expected. Suddenly, the beast gets up to counterattack. Muji tells everyone to get away from it as it is dangerous and pushes Zuofan in front of the monster, saying that it's time for him to do his job as cannon fodder. Soon, the fish lizard is right in front of him, but Huofan dodges it and then attacks it right in the eye, and Mu Yinyu slays it with her sword. Then, Zuofan receives a message from a system saying that he has slain an E-rank monster for the first time. So it initiates the system activation and adapts it to the host. Huo Fan wonders what this noise is and if it is a hallucination. Mu Yinyu asks Muji to clean up the corpse and find the monster core. He says it's not his job and she tells him she knows what he did earlier. She then hands Zuo Fan an army ration that would recover his energy if he ate it. She also says he's an outstanding scout. He thanks her, thinking she's not as cold as she appears. Muji then tells Zuo Fan that he can never become an intermediate rank in his lifetime, and he would just have to be cannon fodder and be carried by other parties. Mu Yinyu tells him to not talk so much. He apologizes and says that he accidentally spoke the truth. Hanhu asks Fan not to mind Meiji as he likes to screw around. Zuo Fan thinks that this uncle seems nice. Zuo Fan tells Yinyu that he would keep watch and asks her to go sleep. Yinyu says that according to the contract, 2 people must patrol and keep watch together. She says she's simply upholding the contract. Zuo Fan says that hearing the accent, they sound like they are from City J, so Zuo Fan asks her why they came to a monster den in City Z. City J is in the north where the monsters first appeared in China, and it contained more dens of all ranks. Yinyu says it is part of her family's coming-of-age trial. She asks him why he's here as well, since E-rank dens are dangerous for him with his skill level. But before he can reply, the ground beneath them cracks open and they both fall into an opening as someone watches them from above. Zuo Fan and Mu Yinyu find themselves at the tracks of the subway. Zuo Fan wonders if they could really be unlucky enough for the passage to collapse while they stood on it. Yinyu asks him if he's done investigating and if it was really just a passage collapse. Zuo Fan says yes, and it could be because of a geological reason. He then says that if they can't get out of here, they must look for other subway exits to leave from. She asks him if he knows where the other subway exits are. Zuo Fan knows where they are because he had already prepared thoroughly before coming here. Zuo Fan shows her a path that could lead them to the exit if it was all clear. They see a light that seems to be getting closer, so Zuo Fan believes they are on the right track. An intermediate rank's eyesight can see darkness as if they were in the daylight. They are even better than using night vision glasses. Suddenly, Yinyu stops and Fan asks her what is wrong. She says she sensed the movement of E-rank monsters. Zuo Fan is surprised because he didn't hear a thing. She says that it is not strange that he didn't because she knew this using her sword sense. Starfall warriors with sword sense can quickly master many different Starfall sword type weapons and can even rely on their weapons to perceive a monster's presence. Soon, a group of monsters show up. Yinyu asks Zuo Fan to stay back while she fights the monsters. Zuo Fan says that he wants to help too. She yells at him to back off and says that with his strength he would only be dead weight. She uses sword sense immersion and attacks the monsters. Zuo Fan admires how strong she is and he wonders if this is her true strength. Normally, E-rank monsters are equivalent to intermediate rank Starfall warriors, and this was when talking about one-on-one fights. But there was more than one enemy here, and yet Mu Yinyu could fight them off. Zuo Fan thinks that her strength can be compared to the strength of an advanced rank Starfall warrior. Suddenly, a monster comes flying at Zuo Fan and bites his arm. Using his dagger, he stabs the beast, killing it. Zuo Fan then receives another message saying that he slayed another E-rank monster and that the system adaptation speed will increase. Zuo Fan wonders what the sound he is hearing is. Once all the monsters are killed by Mu Yinyu, she says that they should head to the exit. However, the exit seems to be blocked from the outside. Suddenly, Yinyu places her sword in front of Zuo Fan, not allowing him to move. Nervously, he asks her what she's doing. She says that is what she should be asking him. Zuo Fan asks her what the meaning of this is. He tells her that just because she can't get out, she should not use a cannon fodder to vent out her anger. She says she was simply testing him, because these accidents seem to be coincidental. He asks her if this whole thing was a setup. Yinyu says someone is setting her up and apologizes to Zuo Fan for dragging him into this. Zuo Fan thinks that this might be infighting within a Starfall family. Ever since the birth of Starfall warriors, there have been families that produce large number of Starfall warriors. They are called Starfall families. The iron rule of Starfall families is the same as this apocalyptic world. The strong live and the weak die. If one wants to rise in a Starfall family, they would need to complete their family's monster den hunting mission and face opponents from their own family. Yinyu asks Zuo Fan if there are any inconspicuous exits. He thinks hard and tries to remember and studies the pathways. He then says that the subway entrance that they passed by is blocked, but he's found a few gaps. This would lead to an underground passage. Yinyu thanks Fan and says she is lucky to be partied up with him. He then says that there's something he has been wanting to tell her for a while. She asks him what it is and he asks if they can run slower as he can barely breathe. Zuo-fan says there's not much air circulation here, so stamina exertion is a bit faster. Zuo-fan feels humiliated, but Yin-Yu says that she understands. She says that he is only a reserve, but he still took an Iran mission. She asks him if he's in great need of money. Zuo-fan touches his necklace, thinking about he has to find the truth soon, as there are only 2 years left for his father's execution. His mother had passed away. They had said she died in a monster outbreak whilst trying to save someone. Zuo-fan thinks, how could a father who lost a loved one this way ignore a monster outbreak and escape by himself? Zuo-fan is sure there's an inside story behind this. Seeing Fan not saying a word, she apologizes and says she shouldn't have asked such a personal question. Fan gets up saying that he's rested and they get going. They finally make it out and a bunch of arrows come flying at them. Yin-Yu immediately grabs Zuo-fan and pushes him out of the path of the arrows and shields him from them. Zuo-fan then realizes that she's been hit by the arrow, which has poison on it. He asks Yin-Yu to endure it and goes to take out the arrow so he can treat the poison. He then gives her an antidote that he brought with him. Looking to her side, Yin-Yu says that she never thought he would be the one to betray her. Her uncle Hanhu and Muji stands above them. He tells her not to see him as an outsider. He also says that she did an outstanding job by dodging the rain of arrows. Zuo-fan realizes this whole monster clearing mission was a trap for Yin-Yu from the start. Yin-Yu asks him why he betrayed her when her father was the one to save his entire family. Hanhu says that humans would risk their lives in pursuit of wealth. And in this world, as long as there are enough benefits, anything can be betrayed. Hanhu then says he knows her strength, so he won't let her stall for too long. He presses a button, leading the place below them to blow up and erupt in flames. He then says that the son of a traitor ambushed the Mu family's prodigy and asks who wouldn't believe this explanation. Zuo-fan and Yin-Yu both made it out through the way they came and escaped the explosion, but they're back where the monsters are. Yin-Yu then says she smells something. She realizes that fish lizard lore was mixed into the poison. Fan says that Hanhu planned this deliberately in order to kill her. She says he does not want to just kill her but also push the blame on Zuo-fan. Zuo-fan knows that if he dies here with Yin-Yu, he would be the scapegoat. And when that happens, Yin-Yu's family's anger would be directed at his father, Zuo-Hui. Then his father would be executed for sure. So, Zuo-fan is now determined to make it out of here alive. As they walk, a monster comes to attack using its tongue, but Yin-Yu uses her weapon to slice it. She says she can still fight, and Zuo-fan says he would think if there are any other exits. After thinking, he says there's one more exit they could be able to leave from. And although this way is blocked, there's gaps and also, they could break through the pile of rocks to escape. She asks how far it is and Fan says it's 3 intersections away. Zuo-fan notices the poisoned blood on Yin-Yu's hand and thinks that even the antidote might not work on her. Soon, they reach a place where they see wind. Zuo-fan says this would definitely lead outside, but Yin-Yu says that escaping might not be so easy as more fish lizards show up. She tells him she'd block the monsters and asks him to go escape. Zuo-fan hesitates and she then says that this whole thing happened because of her, so she asks him to go because even if one person made it out of here, it would be a best case scenario. So Zuo-fan climbs the rocks and clears a path so they can both escape together. He pushes the rocks until the path is opened. He also sets up a contraption to catch the beasts. He calls to Yin-Yu, who slides through the bottom easily, leaving all the fish lizards to get electrocuted. They keep running and the rocks are about to collapse, but they both make it out just in time. Yin-Yu says they made it out all thanks to Zuo-fan. But suddenly, her sword senses monsters nearby. They look up to see more fish lizards there. Yin-Yu drops her sword and falls to the ground and asks Zuo-fan to run away. Instead, he grabs her sword and asks the monsters to come at him. He wants to take a monster down with him even if died in the process. A monster charges at Zuo-fan and pierces him with its tongue. In his mind, Zuo-fan apologizes to his father and says that it seems like he won't be able to come back to clear his name. As he lays on the floor, the system informs that Zuo-fan has slain a total of 3 E-rank monsters and that the energy gathering is complete. The War God system is then activated. The system sends a warning message saying that the host is on the verge of death. Zuo-fan keeps tumbling down and falling, thinking if he is gonna die. That's when there's a system notification saying that the War God system has accumulated all energy and 100 stat points will be restored to the host, and that the system would automatically distribute the stat points. And so, Zuo-fan's stats are all increased in each category. When Zuo-fan finally gets up, he's on the floor, unable to comprehend what just happened. He wonders if it was a deathbed hallucination because of the fish lizard's killing blow earlier. He feels his chest where the fish lizard pierced him, but it does not hurt. Zuo-fan is astounded to see that his wound has healed. He then notices Yinyu lying on the floor unconscious with fish lizards trying to surround her. Zuo-fan takes out his sword, garnering the attention of the beasts. They charge at him to attack, but miss because Zuo-fan swiftly dodges with a flip. He can't believe how agile he is now, and it's not just his agility. His sword that he took from Yinyu seems to be radiating an infinite source of power. According to the system, it is a common starfall weapon, crafted using rare metals and embedded with an E-rank monster core, and increases strength by 45 points when in use. After seeing this, he realizes that Yinyu was using a top-grade weapon, and that's why she was able to slay the fish lizards so easily. He then says that he would now be able to master this starfall weapon and unleash its full power. The monsters run towards him with their tongues out, and Zuo-fan says he's going to kill his way out. He throws the sword at them through their tongues and then pulls it back out. And then with a strike, he beheads both the fish lizards. With his current strength, Zuo-fan is probably near the top among the novice rank starfall warriors. And with the sword's strength bonus, he could deal with the E-rank fish lizards easily. His system then tells him that the host is in the middle of a battle and asks him to focus on the enemies. Zuo-fan says he would focus on taking care of these guys first. He calls out to the beasts and says that he knows more than to just run away. Saying this, he grabs his dagger too and sprints towards them. He slices off the arm of a beast, but another bites down on him. But with one adept move, he pushes them all away. Zuo-fan feels thrilled that he is now able to fight them head on. He thinks that he never has to hide at the back of the party anymore. When he is finally done defeating the fish lizards, he feels a sense of accomplishment, and that he possesses true strength now. He then notes that he has 21 distributable stat points, which is when he notices Yinyu and decides to deal with her first. With all the fish lizard monsters piled up at the entrance, they would not be bothered by other monsters for a while. The priority right now was to deal with the poison. The fish lizard Lauren Yinyu was an issue. He holds the collar of her shirt and apologizes for what he's about to do. He says that he's only doing it for both of them to make it out of here alive. Fish lizard bait is a liquid with a unique smell that can make fish lizards go crazy upon smelling it. After the fall of the meteorite, the monsters around the planet mutated, and so did the plants as well. Those plants can be used as ingredients to make all kinds of reagent, and monster bait is one of them. Zuo-fan sees her wound and says it's not very deep, but the smell of the bait was still there, so it was dangerous. In his hand, Zuo-fan holds a liquid made from skunk shit. A lot of monsters avoid this smell. It's also Zuo-fan's life-saving charm since he became a starfall warrior. Soon, he is done bandaging up Yinyu. He has already cleaned her wound, and the fish lizard bait smell is also gone, so they would be safe for now. Because of the bait, the fish lizard changed their directions, and Hanhu might still be above while Zuo-fan and Yinyu are trapped below. But before he plans an escape route, Zuo-fan decides to first figure out what happened to him. The pendant that was made from the meteor fragments from the starfall is gone, so he suspects that the War God system might have been created by it. After the activation of the War God system, Zuo-fan's attributes have been raised by a lot, and it also healed him. He is perplexed to see that he is already a novice rank starfall warrior. But then, he realizes that only intermediate rank starfall warriors are allowed to use weapons. He then assumes that it might be because his mental spirit stats are above 40, so it allows him to use the weapons. The system then requests him to distribute his remaining points to increase his combat ability. Zuo-fan asks the system if it can explain how to use the War God system. There's no response, so Zuo-fan gets mad and calls it irresponsible and asks how he is supposed to do it without knowing how to. Then, he notices some changes in the stats and realizes that he is supposed to use his mind to control it. So, he first distributes 2 points to strength. He slashes his sword around and observes that the 2 points have given him a boost and he is able to move adeptly. This way, he distributes the rest of the points as well. A fish lizard finds the bait that Zuo-fan set up on a mouse. Zuo-fan notices this and immediately throws a sword at the rocks behind it. While the fish lizard is distracted by that, Zuo-fan jumps down and stabs it from behind and kills it. Zuo-fan thinks that if this was the past him, even with the meteorite sword, he would not have been able to defeat the fish lizards. He understands that this is what it feels like to have power. For killing the fish lizard, Zuo-fan obtains 3 attribute points. He is amazed at the sight of this and wonders how many points he would receive if he killed all the fish lizards in this monster den. The den has around 50 fish lizards, so he could end up with 150 attribute points and end up becoming an advanced rank starfall warrior. But then he gets a hold of himself and says that he should break through to intermediate rank warrior first. Only his physique is less than 40, but the rest of his stats are above it, so he feels that intermediate rank is within his reach. Even though this time he used only 3 attribute points for physique, becoming an intermediate rank Starfall warrior would raise his combat ability by 50%. Above Starfall warriors are Starfall generals. If Zuofan could get strong enough, no one can stop him from rescuing his father. Zuofan then decides to start the hunt. A fish lizard's body is made of ingredients that could be sold for at least $5,000. But since Zuofan can't take all of them, he decides he would only take back some fangs and scales. He takes the sword and drags it across the stone wall, causing a screeching sound. Hearing this, the fish lizards race toward him. Zuofan had expected this, as the fish lizard's hearing sense was better than its eyesight. They shoot out their long tongues at him, and Zuofan is quick to dart around the tongue while slashing his sword. When he reaches close enough, the beasts are about to strike, which is when he quickly slices their heads off. Then, Zuofan begins dismantling them. In just one day, this was his 16th fish lizard. At first, he could only ambush the fish lizard, but now, he could easily handle 2 fish lizards with the help of the meteorite sword. His combat ability is still at the base rank of an intermediate Starfall warrior. At first, he thought that he could earn 150 attribute points by killing 50 fish lizard monsters. But after he became an intermediate rank Starfall warrior, he only received 1 point for each fish lizard he killed. The reason for this was, earlier he was battling monsters that are above his skill level, so 3 attribute points were given to him. And even though he can't become an advanced Starfall warrior now, with his current strength, he would be able to get Yinyu out of this den safely, and it wouldn't be an issue as long as there are no higher rank monsters. Whilst thinking of this, Zuofan steps into a puddle of water. He then hears a strange, grunting noise. Hiding behind some rocks, he sees that it's a mutated monster. Mutated monsters are when 2 monsters have merged and their combat ability and power rises. They are extremely dangerous. The 2-headed crocodile monster spots a few fish lizards. Sticking out their tongues, they pierce them and pull them towards them and munch on them. Zuofan nervously thinks that it was able to kill and eat up 3 fish lizards instantly. This was already equivalent to the power of an advanced rank Starfall warrior. Zuofan does not want to deal with them at the moment, so he decides to back off and retreat for now. Luckily, Yinyu's fish lizard bait smell is disappearing and would be gone soon. But she was injured, and without her help, it would be difficult for Zuofan to fight the monster. That was also the only way to exit out of this place, and the exit of this E-rank den was also not far from there. So Zuofan begins to wipe her wounds, and all of a sudden, she wakes up. Startled, Zuofan says that he was just wiping the wound. She takes out her sword and holds it against his neck. He asks her to listen to his explanation. After a few hits and smashes from Yinyu to Zuofan, she asks him if he really killed those fish lizards and brought her here safely. She then says that he has been hiding his true strength all this while. Zuofan decides that he can never let her know about the war god system. Zuofan then tells her that his father is actually Zuo Hui, an ex-military commander. She asks him back if it is the military commander who is related to the monster outbreak. She then assumes that is why he is hiding his strength, because if he shows his skills while being Zuo Hui's son, his situation would be dangerous. She then apologizes to him for being dragged into the Mu family's inner conflict. Zuofan tells her that what is important now is that they kill the 2-headed monster crocodile and leave this place. Zuofan says that she has to go back and solve the conflict with her family, while he has to go and find a way to prove his father's innocence. The double-headed crocodile's strength surpasses a normal E-rank monster. Fish lizards have good hearing sense and provide support, while the double-headed crocodile focuses on attacking. Fish lizards use tongues for long-range attacks, while the crocodile does melee attacks. Its scales are tougher than fish lizards and can't be pierced through easily even with a meteorite sword. So, Yinyu says that they would have to use the full power of the meteorite sword if they wanted to cut through the scales of the crocodile. So, she enables meteorite equipment trigger activate. The tool that humanity relies on the most to fight against monsters is Starfall equipment. The strongest part of a Starfall equipment is the embedded monster core. It contains vastly powerful energy. With the Starfall equipment's raw sharpness, it can easily cut open an E-rank monster's skin. Yinyu demonstrates this by using the skin that Zuofan had collected from the fish lizards he killed. She cuts into it with her sword while saying that the sharpness is nowhere near enough when it comes to monsters like the 2-headed crocodile. And Zuofan can't help thinking that it was not easy to get those fish lizard skin, which he was going to sell. She then says that the crocodile does not have a distinct weakness. The most direct way to kill it is to chop off both its heads. And to do that, they would need to unleash the full power of the Starfall sword. Zuo-fan tries to not cry over the fish skins as he was supposed to sell it to obtain money. She then asks him if he has any questions, and Zuo-fan asks where she pulled out the dagger from as he never saw it while cleaning her wounds. She then gets angry and asks him why he is thinking about such things when they are in a dangerous situation. She says that if he wanted to defeat the crocodile, he would have to learn to use the Starfall sword. Then, she asks him to watch carefully and demonstrates the real power of a Starfall equipment. Picking up the dagger, she stabs the pile of fish lizard skin with ease. Zuo-fan is impressed at this as it looked like she barely used any strength at all. She says that this is the true power of a Starfall equipment. The weapon user must resonate with the monster core that is embedded in the weapon and generate a sword light. This would help to immensely increase the sharpness of the blade, but unfortunately, it is hard to maintain this extreme level of power, and the monster core would completely break apart after a few uses. Zuo-fan realizes that this is why she did not demonstrate using the Starfall sword. It is supposed to be a trump card that should be only used at the key moment. Ginyu says that since she's injured, she wouldn't be able to endure the recoil of fully unleashing the Starfall sword. So she says Zuo-fan must know to activate the weapon, and that he would have 3 days to form a resonance with the Starfall equipment monster core. One must spend time in combat with beasts so they can slowly grasp and comprehend how to do it. Ones with talent can grasp the skill in about half a year. However, for the majority of people, they might not even be able to achieve it in their lifetime. But she says that Zuo-fan is different because he was able to achieve intermediate rank at such a young age. She also says that he would definitely be able to do it. Zuo-fan has been practicing for half a day now and he is already exhausted. Ginyu had told him that constantly fighting with monsters would make it easier for him to form a resonance, but so far, he can't even feel a single trace of the resonance. Ginyu is not surprised that he has not been able to reach the threshold of resonance after killing fish lizards for half a day. Even with her talent, it took her 2 days to comprehend her sword sense. But they only had 3 days and the consequences could be disastrous if she did not get back in time for the Mu family heir ceremony. And Zuo-fan's father may be impacted by this as well. Ginyu had told Zuo-fan that the only person she can rely on right now is him, so he is determined to make this work. The system informs him that an inactive Starfall sword has been detected and asks if he would like to spend stat points to activate it. Zuo-fan is ecstatic that he can spend points to form a resonance with the Starfall sword's monster core, and wonders why the system did not mention it before. 10 points are required for activation and Zuo-fan uses up all the stat points he worked hard for all day. The Starfall sword is then activated and its activation attribute is Sharpened Sword Light. He tries using it on the fish lizard skins and it cuts through it smoothly as if it was tofu. Ginyu is amazed that Zuo-fan was able to get it done in half a day. She thinks that his talent is absolutely terrifying. She then notices him on the floor, feeling exhausted, and says that aside from wearing out the monster core, resonating with the Starfall equipment also overexerts the user. She says that he was too focused on looking cool without even knowing the basic knowledge. Soon, Zuo-fan gets ready to take on the mutated double-headed crocodile. The strength that comes from desperation is always so dazzling. The double-headed crocodile grunts and shoots out its tongue, but Zuo-fan slips past it to reach a place where he is within attack range. As long as he can cut off that fish lizard's brain, its combat effectiveness would drop by half. Suddenly, the crocodile lashes out its sharp tail at him, sending him crashing to the ground. It was so fast that he did not even get to use the Ming sword. Feeling angry, he gets up and stands as the crocodile gets closer. They open their mouths to attack, but Zuo-fan dodges. He is stunned to see how ferocious their bite force is. Then, the crocodile sticks its tongue out again and smashes it against the ground that Zuo-fan stands on. It misses its target again and destroys the ground with its tail this time, in frustration. Suddenly, the tongue of the crocodile lashes out at his shoulder, throwing him. Zuo-fan then hides behind a wall and realizes that he got a bit cocky as he had thought his skill was equivalent to that of an intermediate Starfall rank warrior after obtaining the War God system. Shouting at Zuo-fan, Ginyu says they should retreat because the two-headed crocodile is not something he can defeat with his skills. Zuo-fan panics and tells her to hide as her injuries are serious. Mutant monsters also have their strong and weak points, mainly depending on their characteristics after mutation. Regardless of whether it is a long, mid, or close-range monster, swords and guns cannot cut their skin. so an attack and defense would be needed simultaneously. To defeat these crocodiles, a grade E martial art technique is needed to be mastered, or one must have the talent skill, for example, Yinyu's sword abilities. But even though she asked him to leave, Zuo Fan knows that he cannot do so if he wanted to prove his father's innocence. 12 years ago, when a wave of monsters broke out in City S, while helping people take cover and run, Zuo Fan's mother went missing. Young Zuo Fan had told his father that she can't be dead as the corpse wasn't even found yet. And Zuo Hui had said that he would rid this world from monsters to avenge her. The crocodile is still roaring in fury. Zuo Fan dodges yet another attack from it. He states that he wants to go home and clear his father's name, and to do so, he would not hesitate to risk his life. There is a new message from the system saying that the host's wish to fight till death has been detected, so a talent skill called Perception has been activated. It is a skill that will enable him to sense all changes within a 10-meter radius around him. Now, Zuo Fan is even able to see his back view using this perception skill. He can see the double-headed crocodile sneaking up on him, and it seems to have slowed down. He sees this as a good opportunity to attack and does so by first chopping off its heads and then its tail and limbs while Yinyu watches in horror. Zuo Fan then tells her that they should get going. For killing the grade E mutant monster, Zuo Fan receives 3 attribute points. He is surprised to see that. That is all he obtained for killing it, but then, the system informs him that the grade E mutant monster core has been found. Zuo Fan runs across the den, while carrying Yinyu on his back. He tells her they are almost at the exit, and she says that she has to thank him because if it weren't for him, she would have died in there. He tells her she does not have to say that, as he was rescuing himself too. And besides, they had gone through life and death together, so there is no need to thank him often as if they were strangers. They turn a corner and are welcomed with a rain of arrows yet again. Muji walks towards them along with a few other men. He says that he just brought these people to come rescue them, and Zuo Fan thinks how annoying he is. Muji says that killing her way out of a monster horde while seriously injured was expected of the top prodigy of the Mu family. He says that Hanhu told him to gather a team and wait at the exit. Yinyu says to Muji that they would all be brought to justice by the family when she got home. Muji calls her naive for thinking that she could get to her home alive in this state. He then says that he has been fancying her for a while and says that he should have some fun with her before she dies. He then asks the men to fetch Zuo Fan by saying that whoever kills him gets to be first in line after he's done with Yinyu. The men say that sounds good and rush to kill him. So, Zuo Fan tells Muji that he still does not understand who's the cat and who's the rat here. Zuo Fan slices the neck of one of the men, taking Muji by surprise. Zuo Fan says that he would settle things now for what he did to him in the past and now. Zuo Fan then sets Yinyu down and asks her to stay there until it is over. Muji can't believe that Zuo Fan can use the Starfall sword. He thinks that Zuo Fan's mind stat must have reached the level of an intermediate rank Starfall warrior. Muji tells his men that Zuo Fan is simply relying on the Starfall sword, and he orders them to not get too close to them and just shoot them using long-range weapons. Zuo Fan immediately activates the perception skill. He senses arrows being shot at him from all sides, all of which break into pieces, leaving Zuo Fan unharmed. Soon, the men who shot the arrows are also attacked and killed by Zuo Fan. Muji watches nervously, and Zuo Fan tells him it is his turn now. So that is it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. So if you like the video, then hit that like button and leave a comment for the next part. Most important, subscribe and press the bell icon for notification. I will meet you in the new video. Till then, bye.